Hello friends, this is Jaya Kulchandani and today I am going to discuss about one of the most important concept of Java, that is constructor. As we all know that the entire concept of Java surrounds around object, and one of the most important phenomena that we consider is memory allocation. Constructor plays an important role in object initialization as well as memory allocation. Basically, constructor is block of code which initialize the object immediately upon its creation. Initializing an object simply means initializing the state of object that is represented by class variables to which our object belongs. When constructor is called for object initialization, memory space is allocated to the object considering the size of class variables. When we talk about initialization, many questions arises in our mind, like what is the need of initialization? What if we don't use constructor? What is the need of constructor? Here are the answers to your question. Java objects, when if not initialized, will store any random garbage value. For example, consider student class which has roll number and name as its data member. Now, suppose if we create an object of student class and do not initialize it, then member variables of object, that is roll number and name, will have any random garbage value, and when used in any member function will give undesired result. When we work with constructor, we need to follow certain rules, as in name of constructor is same as class name to which it belongs. Second, constructor does not have return type explicitly, but it has implicit return type, that is class type. Third, constructor cannot be abstract, static, final or synchronized. Fourth, while declaring a constructor, access modifiers like public, private, protected can be specified. Let's have a look at the general syntax of constructor considering the rules. Coding begins by creating a class. Here we have created a class named XYZ. After that, we will declare a class or instance variable that will be initialized by constructor upon object creation. Now, we will create constructor similar the way we defined method, but without return type. As discussed earlier, the name of constructor will remain same as class name. So, over here, our constructor name will be XYZ. Once relevant code for class is written, we will now define other class wherein we will create instance or object of class XYZ. In order to do so, we will define variable of class type. In our case, obj is defined variable of class type XYZ. The defined variable is not an object. Instead, it is simply a variable that can refer to an object. An actual physical copy of object can be acquired by using new operator. The new operator dynamically allocates memory for object and returns a reference to it. Once the memory is allocated, compiler invokes constructor to initialize instant variables. Now we are very clear with the concept of constructor and its syntax. So let us discuss about different types of constructor. Basically there are two types of constructors. First is default constructor and second is parameterized constructor. Default constructor is one with no arguments. It means that all the object initialized using default constructor will have same value of instance variable, whereas parameterized constructor is one with the parameters that are used to initialize the object. So, object initialized using parameterized constructor can have different values for distinct objects. Let's understand this concept by a simple mode of example. Here we have defined a class named student that has two instance variable, namely roll number and name. Now we will define a default constructor with no parameters. This constructor will initialize instant variables roll number and name of all the objects by 2 and Jaya respectively. Next, we define display method that will print the value of instant variables. Now we have defined a class XYZ that contains main method. In this method, statement student or obj equals to new student will create object named obj of class student and invoke constructor student that will initialize instance variables of object obj by 2 and Jaya. Similarly, we have created one more object ex and invoked default constructor student with no parameters. Next statement obj.display and ex.display will allow to call display method for object obj and ex, which will display instance variables value. When you see the output, it can be noted that the default constructor has initialized the value for both the objects by 2 and Jaya as defined within the default constructor. Now, let's have a look at parameterized constructor example. Similar to the previous example, we have defined a class named student with instance variable roll number, name and member function display. Only thing that changes over here is the constructor definition. Here, constructor student has two parameters a and b of integer and string data types respectively. Value of parameter a will be assigned to roll number and value of parameter b will be assigned to parameter name. Now in XYZ class, we have created obj and ex objects. Constructor invoked for obj object has two arguments, that is 2 and Jaya. So this value will be passed to instance variables of object obj. As a result, instance variables roll number and name for object obj will be initialized by 2 and Jaya respectively, whereas instance variables of object ex will be initialized by value 1 and Prachi, since these values are passed as an argument when constructor for ex is invoked. When you see the output, you can see that both the objects are initialized by different values using the concept of parameterized constructor. Up till now, we have seen how we initialize instance variables using constructor. But what if programmer does not define constructor? In this case, compiler will automatically create constructor and initialize instance variable by predefined values. For example, integer variable will be initialized by 0 and object reference variable will be initialized by null. You can have a look at different predefined initialization values of different type of data types. To get better understanding, let us consider previous example again. But in this example, no constructor definition is given. So, when object is created and constructor is invoked, compiler at runtime will automatically create a constructor that will initialize our instance variables roll number by 0 since it is integer variable, and string object name will be initialized by null value. You can have a look at the output of program to get a better idea. Now, our next topic of discussion is constructor overloading. It is basically concept wherein we can have more than one constructor for one class. Since name of all constructors remains same for a class, compiler will differentiate between constructors by the number of parameters and the data type of parameter it has. Let us consider following example wherein I have created a simple system that allows to maintain details related to product based on user's choice. Here I have created a class named product that has 4 data members, namely p number, p name, p quantity and p MRP that maintains information related to ID, name, quantity and MRP of product. Next, I have created more than one constructor for same class, which will demonstrate the concept of constructor overloading. Constructor with one argument will initialize the instance variable p number with the value that is received as argument and will initialize all other instance variables by constant value. Second constructor that has same name as previous constructor but different argument will initialize the value of variables with the values received as argument. Just like previous program, display function will display the ultimate value of instant variables. Now in this program, user is allowed to add multiple product information. So instead of creating single object, I will consider array of 10 objects that belong to product class. Now we will ask user if they want to add new product. If user will enter Y, then system will allow to enter product, else it will exit. It is possible to read input of user from console using scanner class object and its methods. So we will create an object of scanner class and initialize it using constructor that passes system.in as argument, which represents the input stream. Since the scanner class is part of java.util package, we need to import the package of same. Next statement, string response equals to scanner.nextLine allows to create an object of string class which will store the input received from user. Over here, nextLine function that belongs to scanner class will read string input from input stream. Now we will check the response in while condition. If the response is Y, we will further ask user whether they are interested to add information related to product or not. If the response is yes, we will get the values of product name, price and quantity scanned from the console. It should be noted that the value scanned using next line function is in string format. So in order to store value into integer format, we need to convert it into integer value. This can be done using parseInt function that belongs to integer class. So integer.parseInt accepts string value as argument and converts it into string value, and further stores the value in quantity variable. Similarly, float.parseFloat will convert the string value in float and will store the scanned value in MRP variable. ID of product will be automatically incremented. So, I++ at the very start of while loop represents the incremented product ID. Once all the variables are available, we will create object of product class and initialize it. In order to do so, we have invoked constructor with arguments and pass all the values as arguments. Over here, since we are having two constructors with the same name, compiler will check number of arguments of constructor in order to take decision which constructor should be executed. Now, in case user is not interested to provide the information of product, we will create an object and invoke constructor with one argument to update the ID of product and initialize all other instant variables with predefined constant values. We will again ask user whether they want to add new product or not. If the response is yes, same procedure will be repeated as the system will exit. To display all the values, display function is invoked, wherein P of n represents the array of product. Now let us see the output of program. Here we will firstly compile the program and then execute it. So right now it is asking me if I want to add product or not. So I am typing Y. Let's add information of product. So again I am typing yes. Let me enter product information now. Now again I want to add new product, but now I won't add information of product, so I am typing no. Now I will add third product with information. So here I am done. Further, I am not interested to add product, so I will type no. As you can see here, first and third products information is updated using constructor having 4 arguments, whereas second products information is updated using constructor with 1 argument. Thank you so much for watching video tutorial. Do like, share and subscribe for upcoming video tutorials. You can access the PDF format of tutorial from the link provided below.